Hello and welcome to I Want to Grow, and I Want to Grow is all about that, right? We all want to grow. You hear me say this all the time. But today we're celebrating 90 years, yes, 90 years of the British Council. And can you imagine just how many people they've helped? Well, today, this is a wonderful day for me because today we are interviewing the best person ever, the director of the British Council here in Qatar. And it's a real privilege. Wassem, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today and celebrating the British Council.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm so honored to be on your podcast.
I'm really proud too, and we've got Amna here as well, sharing that sofa with me. And I feel that we're gonna be grilling you with so much positive stuff that I've heard over these last 4 weeks. So let's welcome to the podcast. Yeah. Did you realize just how much great work you and your team are doing with the British Council here in Qatar?
Well, let me be honest with you. Actually, my story with the British Council started before working as a director of British Council. I was myself a student at the British Council studying English. And I've also done the 𝗚IELTS exam that everybody knows about and fear of. To persuade my studies in the UK, in London at the Royal Academy of Music, and later on in medicine at Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. But after that, British Council was a partner of one of my projects. I was a director of a music festival for 5 years. And British Council actually supported my project through grants for young musicians to go and study in the UK, for 2 weeks workshop in some of the big names, institutes and schools like 𝗪𝗪 School, for example. So the engagement with British Council went beyond being me a director. And to be honest, that positive, impactful engagement with British Council made me decide to work for this organization. So going and working I'm a medical doctor, I'm a concert pianist, but to work for an organization as British Council is a big decision for such a person like me, But the cause of the British Council as an organization and the impact I've seen on myself and on the youth who participated in my festival and how that changed their lives and their decisions to become amendment, musicians, future musicians, made me think I should be part of this. I should be celebrating those success stories together with the British Council. So that's what made me join this organization. But you're right. I've been working with British Council since 2009 and in Qatar since 2013. So it's kind of a decade, more or less, working in Qatar. And the impact that I've seen, and I can mention a lot of stories and numbers, but you can imagine the numbers that we've been reaching. For example, let's give a quick example. Exams only, we deliver around 25,000 exams every year. So that's over 10 years. We're talking about 250,000 or 300,000 being delivered only in the last 10 years. We've been in Qatar since 1972, so 52 years in Qatar. 90 years, of course, globally, but 52 of those in Qatar of impact and engagement and support we've been delivering to communities, to even ministries working in collaboration with the ministries. On English, we deliver 6,000 English courses, for 6,000 individuals every year. Festivals, we run an annual festival, UK festival, and we have 25,000 audiences engaging with us face-to-face or online, in addition to millions, of course, online. But for the online activities we run, we got around 25,000. Multiply this by 10 years, that's another 250,000. And the population of Qatar is around 3 million. So we are reaching out to a big chunk of communities and audiences in the country, changing lives, influencing decisions around studying in the UK, persuading art career, developing English, opening opportunities. People sit in the heart of the work of British Council. It's all about connecting people in the UK with people in Qatar, creating opportunities in culture, education, and in development even. and I'm just talking about Qatar, but globally, there's even bigger impact and more impact in all the areas I've just mentioned.
Education for all. You're heavily involved with them, and they're transforming lives from an educational perspective in some of the hardest areas around the globe. And you're a big fundamental part of that.
Exactly. I mean, we are so proud to be working with Education Above All Foundation. And I think we've been running, for example, higher education scholarship program with them for Palestinians, studying in the UK. We've got a couple of UK universities actually supporting them in their master degrees or even sometimes PhD studies. We've been working with Reach Out to Asia program, which is part of Education Above All Foundation in Pakistan, delivering, youth leadership in climate change programs. So we're targeting, I think, around 300,000 youth for the next 3 years in Pakistan through that program. We're hopefully will grow together with all the other partners. I mean, even with Qatar Foundation, with the Ministry of Education, Higher Education, on teachers training. We got a lot of universities in Qatar who actually work with us on exams and assessments. Schools, we got partner schools program. We got around 100 schools who are partners with British Council, delivering IELTS exams and other assessment need in partnership with British Council. I mean, the communities, even the Filipino communities, the Pakistani community, the Bangladeshi community, all have partnership with British Council. We're helping nurses in hospitals to develop their English and to have opportunities for testing, to persuade their future career. Huge. I mean, I myself can't list the number of partnerships and links that we created in the past 10 years I worked. It's a long list, really, and I'm so proud of this list as someone who was an external benefiting from British Council into someone who's an internal and witnessing and being part of these success stories.
Maybe if you allowed me to ask about what kind of a cultural impact that the British Council is playing regarding how to connect the UK culture with the Qatari culture.
Great question. I mean, I did mention Qatar-UK Year of Culture several times in all my meetings. It was a highlight of UK-Qatar relationship on culture, education, science, and youth. And in that year, I can proudly say we managed to deliver in partnership with Qatar Museums at that time 96 high-profile events, and they can go from artist residency programs into fashion and design programs, into architecture programs, and all those programs we were very focused on what you just mentioned around Qatar-UK link. So we got, for example, for the artist residency, it was a 1-month artist residency. We got 10 Qatari artists working closely with other 10 UK artists, developing a whole set of artworks from scratch. The concept was influenced by Qatari heritage and culture and packaged by UK heritage and culture, making something unique, mutual, something that tell the story of that partnership. We got, for example, fashion shows, Philip Tracy hats with abayas designed by Qatari designers on a catwalk at Victoria and Albert Museum. All that kind of mutuality and that partnership being in the core of everything we've been delivering together with the Qatari partners, and if we focused on culture in your question.
Does it ever become overwhelming with everything that you've got running and how you're helping so many?
I wish we could do more. That's always been the challenge. Is we would like to do more. We would like to, help everybody to persuade their case. We are a non-political organization, and that's a key in all what we do. That gives us freedom in how we approach things, making sure we are building trust with the countries where we work in, and meeting objectives of those countries in addition to the wider UK objectives. But I think the power of brokering and linking that we have is something we can invest even more in. That's a huge power we have, not only in Qatar, it's a global network. We have more than 200 offices, across the globe. It's a very powerful network. And I think that's where I think we should be investing more, is how we could connect people and how we could broker those relationships.
What kind of collaboration you are working with a non-government organization in Qatar? Especially that you are not only working as a government or state-wise, but you are working more into the micro-environment of the Qatari societies. A lot of the students participating with your programs or was part of the changing student between UK and Qatar. So what exactly the thing that you're working on the perspective of non-profit organizations?
Thank you so much for this question. I mean, equality, diversity, and inclusion sits in the heart of British Council work. So we try always to diversify the audiences we work with, including charities, as you mentioned, and non-profit organizations. I would mention, for example, the Federation of Indian Nurses based in Qatar. They have 20,000 Indian nurses on that group. And we provide testing for that group and assessment. We have a partnership with them, improving their language and giving them opportunity for assessment. So that's one group of, community we tap into. We got also the Filipino community through training centers. We provide a lot of support, and that goes beyond that small, association we work with. That reach out to 70,000 member or audiences, different audiences. Recently, we partnered with Qatar National Library as part of Qatar Foundation. And through our CSR program, we delivered English language training for 𝗪ص drivers. Something that got really appreciated by, and this is a total different community. We trained so far around 200 𝗪ص drivers, and we're hoping to even, expand on this. I did mention Education Above All Foundation. Again, it's a non-governmental entity we worked with. We worked, I remember once, with the Friends of Environment Society. And we focused on climate and leadership. We've done many of those kind of, projects with different charities and communities, in addition to the state and governmental partners.
How have you developed over the years? How have you kept yourself fresh? How have you kept yourself evolving?
Yes, so to be honest, COVID, let's mention that. I know audiences might hate that word, but COVID made us think as an organization, like any other organization, to really look at how we do things, how we approach things, what ideas need to be thinking about. I mean, British Council always refresh their programs. They assess the needs of globally and regionally and on country level. But COVID was really a critical moment where the organization looked back and said, okay, it's the time for more innovation. It's the time for more digital. So, and that's on all levels, even in arts and culture. We have a department that looks at innovation in culture and arts. And English language, for example, recently we announced a product called British Council Language product, which used to be called My Class, which is mainly people can schedule their English language courses online, choose the teacher they would like to have that class with, and choose the time, and choose the modules. So it's totally flexible product, which is an innovative way to approach things in such time. We're looking at AI also, and in English language teaching. We got a lot of research and insight we do globally. We have a research and insight department for that. Plenty of things. I mean, one of the areas of work that I'm proud of, and I think is very important, is how art responds to global challenges. So we got art and disability, we got art and climate change, we got cultural protection fund, which is helping countries in crisis to protect and preserve their tangible and intangible heritage in such difficult times. I think all those kind of responses being appreciated globally and by our partners.
How do you see the further collaboration between UK and Qatar? Where is the relations going? How much it's strong? And let's say, and you mentioned that most of our, previous education or previous policies or previous the structure of the country was made by either USA or UK or the Virgin countries until we started to develop our own policies and our own structures. So what kind of a future relationship you see between Qatar and UK?
Thank you so much. I think let me speak on different levels. So if you start with education, I think in 2022, just before the World Cup, there was a critical moment, or if you say a highlight of the relationship on education, where Department for Education in the UK signed an MOU with the Ministry of Education, Higher Education in Qatar, and created a steering committee, joint steering committee that look at education partnerships between Qatar and the UK. And I could say proudly that British Council been facilitating that discussion. The first steering committee meeting last year. We all know that there is an announced state visit happening, in December. And there are plenty of potential collaborations on different levels. And I think education and culture will be included in that. On culture, after Qatar-UK Year of Culture, we've been running a legacy program, which is an annual UK festival. We've been growing year by year. The focus, I think, to complement 2030 vision, Qatar National 2030 vision, I think the focus will be around skills and brokering relationships and opening the market, for potential institutional links or institutional partnership. I think we will be supporting in that level as much as we can.
With it being 90 years and you're on 10 years, how are you going to celebrate, and what stands out for you the most?
Yes, so this year we have a special UK Festival edition. And the theme of this is actually celebrating those partnerships on organizational level and on individual level or people-to-people level. And this program, this podcast is one example of how we are celebrating. So we are podcasting our top 90 stakeholders we worked with in the last 10 years. I think measuring impact through stories after 10 years of partnership will be so exciting for us to see. We supported, for example, one Qatari filmmaker to go and do a residency at British Film Institute in the UK. She's now an award-winning filmmaker. Seeing this, as a story, it's too dear to our hearts, really. Examples like we organized the first public art conference in Qatar jointly with Qatar Museums and Qatar Foundation. Now you see public art booming. We might contribute to that through partnerships we created, through discussions we created, through the questions we raised in the in the conference, but you could see how our influence being part of this. We got a mural at Qatar Cultural Village. I don't know if people know, but there is a mural developed by Welsh artists during the World Cup, highlighting the qualification of Wales football team. And people enjoy it. It's a mural of two flowers representing a Qatari flower and a Welsh flower. We've been running inclusive physical education program for a lot of time, trained teachers around this. Now you can see the Qatari approach to disability and inclusive schools, and definitely we contributed to that. And we got national trainers who got that training by Youth Sport Trust International in the UK. I mean, first disability conference organized by British Council at Museum of Islamic Art back in 2015. The list is long, really. The list is really long.
It was unfair for me to ask you that, because I suppose I'm really privileged. I'm privileged to have been on experience some of your journey through the stories of the people that we've interviewed so far. And I'm just so taken back by the changes that you've helped people manage. You talk about the Filipino community and that young lady that started helping two people just over a cup of coffee, but now she's got 7 outlets here in Qatar where she was the first one to do your test, to help with the testing. You've made some, I'm not even going to say significant changes. You've done some life-changing changes, and you've assisted so many people in their careers, in their business, in their life, in meeting in travel. The lady the other day that came from Sudan because she's had her own fashion label, where you've helped her come out of a war zone so that she can build her brand and she can take it back and help others. And that's just one story of many. It's quite staggering. I look at it and I think to myself, you've raised the bar to such a height. How are you going to keep that bar going up?
Yeah, exactly. The expectations are always high of British Council, and we need to keep the quality and the professionality. And it's a great brand also. It's a great, helper. It's hopes achiever. I think British Council, I know I'm director of British Council, but I speak about British Council from outside the organization as someone who benefited from the British Council, really. I'm one of those audiences you talked about that either changed my life, or opened opportunities for me. So I'm someone who experienced that impact you just mentioned.
We had the ambassador of the UK in an interview, and he said without the British Council he probably wouldn't be in the position he is in today. That was his
wonderful
words.
Yeah, I mean, our relationship with the British Embassy, of course, we work closely with the British Embassy, in partnership with the British Embassy. And of course, we get lots of support. Some of the projects we work on, and this is one of those projects also, because we have joint partners we worked with. So we thought we should be celebrating together British Council 90 years and Qatar-UK relationship, and celebrating, of course, the upcoming state visit. I think we have a very positive partnership, and I think His Excellency, the Ambassador, Mr. 𝗪ৃ Patel, who just arrived to Qatar, I think, it's like 6 months ago. But I think he's someone that appreciate those people-to-people links and see the value of it. And I think through the British Council lens, I think he appreciate what we do and value what we do.
I sat down with Amna at the beginning with you, and within a very short space of time, you're going to be exchanging numbers to be working together.
Yeah, that's correct.
At the very beginning. So with that said, I'm going to leave the last question for you.
Maybe I want to ask about what kind of movement the British Council is playing in regarding leadership programs. That's correct that British Council provide language test services for students Qatar from different age groups, students in universities or even students in high schools or primary schools. But what kind of leadership programs that the British Council is working on in collaboration with the embassy?
Excellent. So I'll speak about a couple of programs we run in Qatar. So we got a program called Springboard, which is mainly been targeting women in leadership, providing them with skills they will need. We've been running also Cultural Leadership International program, and that's mainly for cultural leaders who would like to either run their own cultural organization or program or festival, or be part of a bigger institution or ministry. We've been also, in all our programs, we have an approach around that more than 50% of our participants in any program we do should be women or girls. We believe in that, and that's a target we have all the time. We understand and we value the role of women in society. So any program we run, they sometimes get the leadership role in those programs. And some are not actually leaders themselves, but they use that opportunity to develop skills, and we help them in that journey. So they learn from British Council, and we support and we empower during that journey. And now they become leaders of big organizations, and so we have that. We also have a couple of joint leadership programs that we run with the embassy. We ran with the embassy, like Windsor Leadership Training, and that's in the UK. Plenty of other leadership programs. Through our youth leadership and climate change program we run in Pakistan, we actually empower youth, give them the tools to run their climate action plans in their communities. So they create their hubs, their communities who could support and sort out climate change issues. We have a whole global program called Climate Connect that actually support youth in that area of climate change and climate challenges. The list is long, but I think this is an area where we are very focused. And I see Qatar in general, they are really, really strong in this. And plenty of leadership programs being run with Ministry of Foreign Affairs through your SDG program, leadership program. We become complementary now. I think Qatar is quite advanced, but we're always happy to help whenever we can.
I'd like to thank you both for a wonderful, wonderful podcast. I'd like to say that everyone at the British Council, you're all heroes. In what I've learned over this last 4 weeks, every single one of you have got that badge of being a hero. You have set something special in motion, and you're continuing to do so. Congratulations, Wassem, and thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you so much for hosting me in this podcast, and huge thanks, just as you mentioned, to my team. Really, I appreciate them. I always say to them, you made my life easier. They are really great team. They are not the team that need to be told what to do. They are the team who can actually sit on the table and tell me what to do. And that's what I like in this. They are innovative and they have their own ideas, which we all value and we all appreciate.
And you think I'm letting you get away with this one? One word that the British Council means to you sums up.
For me, it's a new life, a better life. That's what means to me. It's a better life, achieving hopes.
Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.